Area number 92.
Number 211, we have got a mariner's compass.
Yeah, the pretty one here. Hit about in the 275. 50 bid.
An Amish quilt is more than just a blanket to keep you warm. It's a story woven from cultural values, meticulous care, and deep affection. Every stitch and every thread is a living testament to a simple yet meaningful way of life, where beauty is found in patience and handiwork.
Young lovers seek perfection. Old lovers learn the art of sewing shreds together and of seeing beauty in a multiplicity of patches.
The quilting journey begins with selecting and cutting the fabric. This often stems from a specific inspiration, like a piece of fabric with a pink and blue color palette. Traditional quilts often feature rich, deep colors such as crimson, navy blue, black, and mustard yellow. What's particularly special is that a large portion of the fabric is repurposed from old clothing or leftover scraps, showcasing the thrifty and resourceful spirit that is a part of the Amish philosophy of simplicity and waste reduction. Once the materials are ready, the design and layout process begins. Before they start sewing, quilters often sketch their designs on graph paper, paying close attention to measurements and seam allowances. The patterns are usually simple but geometrically powerful: squares, stars, diamonds, and diagonals. A key detail that many quilters wonder about is the rule for adding a seam allowance. To ensure a finished 8 by 8 inch block stays true to size, quilters must add 1/4 inch to all 4 sides, guaranteeing each block is the correct size when pieced together. To get these geometric blocks just right, especially half-square triangles, quilters need to be precise in their preparation. The fabric must be flat and wrinkle-free. When cutting, they often add 7/8 inch or even a full inch to the finished size to make it easier to handle and allow for error. They then mark a diagonal line on one of the fabric pieces and sew on both sides of the line. The blocks are then cut, pressed flat, and trimmed. For extra accuracy, they might use a ruler with a 45-degree line or specialized tools like an AccuQuilt cutter or a stripology ruler. One of the most creative and economical aspects of quilting is using leftover fabric scraps. Instead of throwing away small bits, quilters have developed techniques like crumb quilting or scrappy string quilting. These methods turn what would be waste into unique and colorful quilt blocks. The process for a string quilt starts with a foundation piece of fabric, a bit larger than the desired block size. The quilter will sew the fabric strips onto this foundation, beginning with a diagonal line down the center. After each seam, they open the strip and press it flat, continuing to add more strips until the entire foundation is covered. Then, they trim the block to its precise size. This technique not only saves fabric, but also creates asymmetrical patterns that are full of spontaneous charm.
My fingers hurt.
What's that?
My fingers hurt.
Many passionate quilters have shared their invaluable experiences. Some use washi tape to mark their seams, while others use fabric-covered bricks as weights to hold their fabric still. To keep seams from shifting, some even use a sizing spray and a wooden clapper instead of a steam iron. These methods not only make the work more efficient, but also show the endless creativity within the quilting community. Next comes the piecing. Each fabric piece is carefully sewn by hand, one stitch at a time, ensuring every line is perfectly straight and strong. This stage requires absolute patience and high precision, creating a solid foundation for the entire quilt.
Wow! A real magician's cave. Awesome!
Whoa.
To deal with their growing collection of scraps, quilters have come up with many fast and simple block patterns. These patterns primarily use standard-size strips, like 2.5 inch and 5 inch pieces, which saves time and optimizes materials. Among them, basic blocks like the 4-patch and 2-patch are often used as bonus pieces while working on other projects. Another popular pattern is the postage stamp block, made by sewing long fabric strips together and then cutting them into small squares. Arranging colors by light and dark values helps create structured patterns. The 9-patch is perfect when you have many scraps of the same fabric, and the centerpiece can be made to stand out or fussy cut to create a focal point. Finally, the cross block uses small strips and squares to form a simple but effective cross shape. These patterns not only help manage scraps, but also offer endless creative options for the quilter. Amish quilting, with its bold geometric patterns and simple striking colors, shows how a humble craft can rise into true art, turning everyday stitches into timeless beauty. Let's look at some examples of these incredible patterns. There's a center square quilt from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, which is incredibly similar in some ways to a Joseph Albers painting with its minimal colors and graphic simplicity. Then there's the ocean waves pattern, so dynamic it almost makes your eyes hurt, feeling like the quilt is spinning just by how the little triangles interact. And tumbling blocks is one of the most visually dynamic quilt patterns, requiring incredibly precise technical skills in piecing. The geometry involved is very detailed. It's 60-degree diamonds fitted together at a precise point in the center to create a cube. We also have crazy quilts. For over a century, the phrase crazy quilt has been used as a metaphor to describe haphazard things thrown together to make a pleasing whole. Take a quilt called Crazy Star. You can clearly see why it's called crazy. Just look at how many individual pieces of fabric form that background. In contrast, there's a crazy quilt from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, called a contained crazy quilt, because each of the crazy blocks is separated by a solid colored piece, making it very staid. Jacob's ladder symbolizes the path to heaven. Broken star represents human imperfection, tree of life celebrates family continuity, and sunshine and shadow acknowledges life's inevitable mix of joy and sorrow. Double ring pattern. This pattern symbolizes love and lasting relationships, with interlocking rings representing marriage. It's a very common wedding gift, often made by mothers and friends, and holds deep meaning as it adorns the couple's bed. Dresden plate quilt pattern. Originating from Dresden, Germany, known for its fine porcelain plates with flowers and foliage, this pattern is popular, especially for baby quilts, due to its colorful nature. Log cabin quilting pattern. This pattern features strips of material laid out to resemble a log cabin, symbolizing the hearth of a home. It can be brighter than what older order Amish might typically use. Star of Bethlehem. This really pretty pattern has an 8-pointed star and is one of the most beautiful and elaborate, as well as one of the oldest common patterns in the Amish community. It often combines the traditional plain Amish background with the beautiful starburst design.
Can a robot turn a canvas into a beautiful masterpiece?
Can you?
For many quilters, learning never stops. Whether they have decades of experience or are just starting out at 16, 60, or even 85, they are always looking for new tips and techniques to hone their skills. Many have found joy in tackling their piles of scraps and turning them into beautiful pieces, even donating them to patients in hospitals or hospices. When all the fabric pieces have been assembled into blocks, the next step is to put them together to form the finished quilt top. This is a crucial stage that requires careful arrangement to ensure the lines and corners align perfectly. A neat trick is cutting fabric pieces to create triangles on the sides or corners, which makes the finished quilt look like it's arranged on point or in a diamond shape. Designing diagonal or angled patterns may require a larger border so the pattern isn't cut off. Modern quilters often find ways to deal with orphan blocks and leftover scraps. A common solution is to use simple and quick layouts that effectively utilize the leftover pieces. Instead of creating complex designs, they focus on piecing the blocks together according to a specific rule, creating a harmonious overall look. To transform these fabric bits and orphan blocks into a work of art, many quilters have turned to the improv method. This technique allows them to break from traditional rules, not following a fixed pattern, but instead making creative decisions throughout the sewing process, as long as the final quilt lies flat. By choosing a standout block as the centerpiece, they can create a captivating focal point. Then, they use similar blocks at the corners to frame the entire piece. To solve the issue of mismatched sizes, they might add strips of fabric to smaller blocks or arrange them in flexible layouts like horizontal rows, a central border, or multiple rectangles, turning randomness into a unique and beautiful harmony. Additionally, using sashing strips to join blocks not only helps handle blocks of varying sizes, but also adds color or unique patterns. Another technique is to use negative space by adding large background pieces, which helps create a complete quilt even without enough blocks. This shows the continuous creativity of those who love to quilt. Next is the hand quilting stage. This is the main decorative part, where fine stitches connect all the layers of fabric. This quilting technique is often passed down through generations. Some quilters share that they started sewing as children and have honed their skills over many decades, making it an essential part of their lives. The quilt itself embodies the Amish principle of Gelassenheit, a devotion to achieving a higher purpose. Finally, a batting layer is added to reinforce and strengthen the quilt. The edges are carefully trimmed, and the binding is neatly stitched to create a finished look. Another important detail is choosing a maille harpe, focal fabric for the outer border, which helps frame and highlight the entire design. Every quilt is a handcrafted product with deep historical and cultural value. A typical queen-sized quilt can take up to 300 hours to complete, which is equivalent to about 7.5 continuous weeks of work for one person. Some people who live near Amish communities, like in Maryland or Indiana, have shared special experiences of getting to know and buy directly from these artisans, sometimes even with home delivery. They value the strong connection and community spirit that these products represent. However, some voices within the community point out that not all products sold on the market are of equal quality. Some observers have noticed quilts that appear to be mass-produced with uneven stitching or bindings made by inexperienced hands. This raises the question of whether a quilt is good simply because it has the Amish label. Furthermore, some well-known designs attributed to the Amish were actually created by artisans outside the community using commercially available patterns. This shows the complex interweaving of tradition and modernity in the quilting world. While the Amish are famous for their hand-sewn quilts, today, the use of modern machines like pedal-powered sewing machines or large frame quilting machines is also common among enthusiasts, which doesn't diminish the value of the final piece.
Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies.
For many, quilting is not just a hobby but a form of therapy. Some viewers have shared that this activity has helped them get through difficult periods in their lives. In addition, many professional quilters have learned that creating a large number of blocks can be physically tiring, and the best way is to work in batches to protect their hands and backs. A piece of advice beloved by many is that done is better than perfect. This serves as a great reminder that not everything needs to be absolutely perfect, and the act of completing a handmade item is an accomplishment in itself. In the end, an Amish quilt is a testament to hard work, community love, and deep faith. Its beauty doesn't come from extravagance, but from the genuine, simple honesty found in every stitch and thread, transforming a daily item into a timeless cultural legacy.